The short answer here is that the Utah Utes are in a position to make some noise in the college football playoff and in the Big 12 in their first year. Along with Oregon joining the Big 10, they are one of the 3 teams, I think you would include Texas and the SEC here, as programs that we expect to, across the board, be contending for the conference championship. And in the case of Utah, I think they have the easiest road of those 3 teams that I mentioned, Oregon and Texas, and Utah, to make it to the conference championship and win one of those automatic qualifying bids to the 12-team playoff. One of the reasons that I think this is a very good Utah team is Kyle Whittingham is still the head coach. And since Kyle Whittingham has been the head coach, there's been a standard of winning at Utah that really goes all the way back to the early aughts. And I bring up that 2008 Utah team that beat Nick Saban and Alabama in a Sugar Bowl, finished undefeated. If they wanted to hang a national championship banner for that year, I wouldn't mind it, not one little bit. You're also talking about a Utah program that beat up on USC back-to-back years, won 2 conference championships, and then last year without Cam Rising was very much in the thick of it toward the end. And with Cam Rising at quarterback, it's the kind of team that can not only win a conference championship, but can win a Rose Bowl. It's about being healthy at that position. You got to find out that, yeah, you're bigger than your quarterback, but you also got to find out just how far you can go without a quarterback if you're the Utah Utes. So you don't get to just say defense above all else. And Iowa might also be an example of this. If Iowa had a quarterback, I think they would be a lot like Utah, and that's what Cade McNamara might be for them. But it's one of those programs that I think we should be watching for on the fringes, because after October, it should be smooth sailing for Utah if they can get through September unscathed. Beating BYU is not going to be the big deal that we once thought it might be, right? Certainly not when Zach Wilson would have been a quarterback there, and we thought of BYU as one of those programs that was on the come up. They've not fallen off, but they haven't been one of those factors in big-time college football since they joined the Big 12. Utah has a game at Oklahoma State and against Arizona September 21st, September 28th, that really is going to set the table for what they are able to accomplish in the 2024 season. If they get through that undefeated, there's a very good chance that they won't have to see a Kansas State. Well, they won't see Kansas State at all or Kansas at all. They won't have to see Oklahoma State or Arizona again until the Big 12 championship. And the only thing that I think would preclude them from making the college football playoff would be entering that game with one loss and then taking a loss to one of those teams. If they, say, lost to Oklahoma State or Arizona and still made the conference championship, they lose again, they're not going to make the college football playoff. However, if you're looking at the sum of Utah, you can see a lot of similarities between their strengths and weaknesses, and I think the strengths and weaknesses of Oklahoma State, and I think those are 2 of the better teams in the Big 12 conference. One, Cam Rising is that guy, along with Alan Bowman. They're 2 7-year quarterbacks who are getting starts and really are seasoned veterans in the broadest sense of the word in college football. They also got pretty good running backs. We know Ollie Gordon is perhaps the best running back in the country with an offensive line that is returning from last year that saw him rush for damn near 2,000 yards. You're also looking at Micah Bernard coming back for the Utah Utes, but they're adding Dorian Singer to the wideout tree with Micah Pittman. And I think between those 2 guys, you have for real wideouts that can go make plays down the field for you, unlike perhaps just Money Parks and some others the last couple of years. But also Brent Keithy is back, and I think that guy could be as good as Dalton Kincaid, right? He's that great at talent. It's about, again, being healthy for him. And then Morgan Scalley's defense has always been pretty damn good. They're so good on defense that they could have the free safety be a running back and be just fine with Sione Vaca as their tailback last year. But I think the one thing that I am really excited about is whether or not Anthony Woods gets to show up and be a real star for them. It's a guy that had over 1,100 yards at Idaho last year. And we're talking about a Utah program that is heading toward the end of the Kyle Whittingham era. He himself said he might not be around for their game in Vegas in a few years. And they've already given the head coach in waiting title back to Morgan Scalley after he had it once before. And I think nothing would please Kyle Whittingham more than trying to win this conference championship in his first year, make the college football playoff for the first time ever, and then see if they can't go and make a run, perhaps even get to the national championship game and maybe even win it. We've seen worse teams than Utah make the college football playoff, and we've seen worse teams than Utah make the national championship game. I'm thinking about Texas Christian here, in case you were wondering. Not to say that Texas Christian is bad in 2022. It is to say that their undefeated run all the way to the Big 12 championship had some scares in it. some real scares. And then they end up losing to Kansas State and Will Howard in that Big 12 championship, which also leads me back to, yes, Will Howard is a player. He's also the only guy on that Ohio State team who has won a conference championship in the last 3 years, and that includes any of the coaches. I just want to throw that out there for you. But with Cam Rising at quarterback, I think the limit for them is going to be them. Get through September, play your best football early, and see if you can't hold it together in November, because you're going to be there. Along with a team like Missouri, we're going to be looking at you going, okay, we know that Utah is a good football team. We saw what they did in the Pac-12 the last 3 years. We understand who they are, with Cam Rising is at quarterback. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I think you're going to be fine. But if he does get hurt, we might be looking at a Jordan Travis Florida State situation, which is to say, even an undefeated record didn't save Florida State from not being selected for the college football playoff. You're going to need that guy at quarterback for us to believe that you ought to be in the college football playoff. It ain't fair, and I fully admit that, because I like to believe that if you're undefeated, you deserve every opportunity to compete for a national championship. But we've seen from this committee, they don't much care if you're undefeated if they don't think that your best player or most important player is at quarterback. If it's the backup and we don't see much out of the backup that we like, or we don't know that that guy can already do it, we're probably going to hold that against you into the future. Again, protect Cam Rising at all costs. It's one of the reasons they set him out last year, is couldn't actually get him cleared enough to play. But what's clear is they didn't sit on their laurels. They went and got a tailback to help them when Quentin Jackson transferred to Arkansas. They went and got some help at wide receiver. I think Dorian Singer has an opportunity to be an all Big 12 performer, one of the 5 best wide receivers in that conference. And that defense is always salty. It's always nasty. It's always difficult to beat. And they're going to make you march it all the way down the field in most instances. This could be a magic year for the Utes. It really could. They just need things to go their way. But with this schedule, in this conference, where, yes, it's thick and anybody can win it, it feels like Utah, like Missouri, should think of this as being the bar. The bar is making the college football playoff in its first season of 12-team of a 12-team bracket. And I think they've got everything they need to get that done.